And I'm delighted to be joined by Savannah from the University for the Creative Arts and Rob from Teesside University, and I'll give them both a full introduction in a second. Rob Burton is an Associate Dean with Teesside University, and Rob is going to run a session looking at art and design courses, but giving you an idea of what the actual course will include, what to expect on a programme. And now Savannah's going to open things up. Savannah's joined us from the University for the Creative Arts, and Savannah is going to do a session introducing the creative industries and really going through what to look out for when choosing a creative university. And with that, I'm very conscious that you've not tuned in to hear from me, you've tuned in to hear from our excellent speakers. I'll pass the floor to Savannah, please.
Thank you very much, John. So as John's mentioned, my name is Savannah and I'm from the University for the Creative Arts. And as he said, I'm here today to talk to you about kind of creative industries, as well as some of the top tips to look out for when choosing going into the creative industries and a creative institution. So really what I'm just going to be talking about is main stuff like a little stats about the creative industries first, and then a few kind of little guides as to what to look out for, as well as a kind of, there's a few different ways you can go within studying creative industries and creative careers and degrees. So I'll be running through the different kind of programs and ways that you can go about that. So first of all, what we're going to be doing is looking at what are creative careers. And really what I'm here to talk to you about today is recognising and encouraging you to recognise that creativity surrounds our entire lives on a daily basis. So what I really want you to do just for a second is look around the room that you're sitting in. For example, like I'm sitting in my living room today. Everything that surrounds you in your entire lives is created by someone, has to be created by someone. And I think obviously with everything of these strange new times that we've had going on recently, we've discovered that more and more. I'm sure a lot of you use TikTok or Instagram. You yourself are being a creator when you're using those apps, and someone has to create those apps for you to use them. Everything that you have on a daily basis, such as your really annoying alarm that gets you up for school in the morning or college, someone has to design that really specific tone to be able to wake you up and get you up in the morning. Someone has to design the clothes that you wear, the tables that you use, the chairs that you sit on. So literally everything is created by us, by someone in our entire lives on a daily basis. And because of that, there's a lot of different areas that you can go into within a creative career. And this is a very small snippet of some of the different areas. This is just about 1% of the different kind of creative careers that you can go into. So some of you might know the kind of typical ones that we would put out there as like an animator for Disney, or a graphic designer, or fashion designer, photographer. But you might not realize that actually stuff like a marketing manager or a mobile app developer are creative as well. There's also a web developer, special effects, obviously we know is a little bit more towards the creative industries. And as I mentioned, obviously, this is a 1% kind of area. So the creative industries are growing larger and larger every year. And that means, of course, that we're here today to talk about the business of creativity. So now I'm just going to show you a few stats based on the creative industries and the creative economy and kind of where they fit in with the economy in the UK. So in 2018, there were 3.2 million jobs in the creative economy, and that's in 2018. Obviously, we're in 2020 now. And obviously with lockdown happening and all of us having to stay at home and be safe, we've been using everything a lot more, like Netflix and binge watching your favorite TV shows, or all the different kind of softwares that you use. So there are more and more jobs growing as more and more years go, because there's more kind of need and consumption for the creative industries. And that means that there's 1 in 11 jobs in the creative economy. So if we put you into groups of 11 with your friends, that means at least one of you would be going into the creative economy somehow. And it doesn't mean it just be one of you. It could be 2, it could be 10, it could be all 11 of you. That means at least one of you would be going into the creative economy. And this means that they're worth a staggering £111.7 billion a year. And this again is from a 2018 stat. So imagine that growing ever more, and as the years go past. So in 2018, they were worth a staggering £111.7 billion. And that means that the creative industries are making £12.7 million an hour. And that's not just a 12-hour day when you're awake and moving around and working. That's 24 hours a day. They're making £12.7 million an hour, which is absolutely incredible to think about that. And this means that they're growing 5 times faster than the annual growth in the UK average. So this is a lovely little chart that I like to use just to kind of give students a little nice gauge as to kind of where those different areas fit in within the UK economy and the industries. So you can see obviously advertising has about £8,623 million, whilst publishing is about 10,042. Of course, this is also ever changing. So this isn't a stagnant stat. This will be fluctuating with everything going on. And you do tend to find that things do get larger and larger and grow more as the creative economy becomes higher in demand. So this is one of my favorite things just to kind of show, to kind of give a good idea as where that means, where you fit in and where the economy fit in with just general within the UK. So on our lovely little map we have on the right here, you can see that almost 50% of jobs are based in the Southeast and in London, which means that we're perfectly placed for majority of the creative jobs. But this doesn't mean that the jobs aren't growing larger and larger as the economy grows with the creative industries. And our three little boxes on the left here kind of are a nice way to kind of separate and show you where that means it fits in with everything else within the UK and general companies. So box A, as you can see, is non-creative supporting jobs with the creative industries. So if you think about your HR advisors or your accountants within Disney or a graphic firm or a very stereotypical kind of creative company, but the supporting jobs that aren't creative. So this is actually the smallest number, which is quite interesting. So these are all the supporting roles such as accountants or HR advisors who help with big creative companies. And then box B, which obviously is a middle ground number, that is the creative occupations within a creative industry. So your kind of stereotypical animators within Pixar or Disney or something like that. Sorry, I know I use Disney quite a lot as an example. So the kind of stereotypical creative jobs within a creative type company. And then what's really interesting is we found that there's actually the largest number of creative jobs are actually outside of the creative company or creative industry. So as you can see, it's creative occupations outside of the creative industry. So these are actually creative jobs that you wouldn't have necessarily thought would go into a kind of company that isn't creative. For example, you need people who are at like Volkswagen, who aren't necessarily a creative company, but need that creative mindset like an advertiser to be able to give that kind of unique, really well selling point. You need graphic designers for all these kind of companies like car companies, NHS, obviously you need graphic designers to do all their advertising. Universities even need graphic designers to do all their advertising and everything. So even this slide needs a graphic designer to do something with this. So you tend to find there's actually more jobs going outside of a non-typical creative company than there are anywhere else. And whilst you're studying a creative course, you're also learning really interpersonal skills that you can take on into the wider world. This is everything from time management, social skills, confidence, independence, communication. The list really does go on and on. And again, this is just a small snippet of some of the amazing things that you learn and develop while studying a creative course. So quickly, I'm just going to talk about is university for me and the different pathways and options that are out there for you. So obviously once you finish GCSEs, there are a few different options for you. You can obviously go on to do A-levels, or you can go on to do an extended diploma. So an extended diploma is basically a 2-year course equivalent to doing A-levels. I know there will obviously always be different options out there for you, and you might be studying A-levels already, which is absolutely fine. Don't worry about this. But the extended diploma is basically a nice little kind of alternative to doing A-levels if you definitely know you want to go and be creative. Of course, you can go do A-levels or Scottish Highers or BTEC Nationals or whatever it is you're going to go into. That's absolutely fine. That's the usual kind of normal way that students go on to. And once you finish your A-levels, you can either go on to do a foundation studies at either your college might offer it or some universities offer a foundation year. It isn't compulsory for most universities. It's worth for looking at the university you're going to, whether it is compulsory or not, because some universities do require a foundation year, but not all of them. So do keep an eye on this as to whether it is compulsory for the degree that you're looking at. And then of course, last but not least, there is the undergraduate studies. So the undergraduate is obviously your degree or BSc or BA honours, and there is a 3- and 4-year course for some universities, so keep an eye out for that as well. And then last but not least, obviously, postgraduate studies and employment. So if you finish your undergraduate, you can either go on to do a MA or finish off and go into a job. But these are really nice little kind of round area of some of the options that are out there for you. As mentioned with the extended diploma, obviously this is an alternative to doing A-levels. So you could do an extended diploma somewhere, it might be at your college that might offer it. Some universities offer this as well. And then you kind of look at all the different areas. The extended diploma is equivalent to getting 3 full A-levels. So it's quite nice that you can actually still get the A-level qualifications if you want, and then carry on to do your undergraduate. And then lastly, I'm just going to do a quick student finance. What does this mean for me? Because obviously I do understand student finance can be quite a scary thing. I remember when I was a student, it was very scary for me looking at this. And I'm here just to do a little bit of myth busting about student finance quickly and give a little bit kind of ease as to what this means. So you'll only start repaying your loan when you earn £25,725 or more. Now, this is subject to fluctuation, so do keep an eye on this. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, but this was at the time of publication that this is the quantity. After 30 years, any and all remaining debt is wiped. So that means no matter how much or how little you've paid, after 30 years, your complete debt for student loan is completely wiped. You do not have to worry about ever repaying it again. No debt collectors will be chasing you, so there won't be anyone knocking on your door, don't worry. You literally just pay it out of your tax every single month. It comes straight out with your tax, so you're not having to worry about making repayments or keeping track of how much you've paid with the company. And a student loan will not affect your credit rating or credit file. We do get asked this quite a lot. Don't worry, it's not going to affect your student loan. It's not going to affect if you ever want to get a mortgage or anything like that. So don't panic about getting a student loan if you're like, oh, actually, what's going to happen later on in my future when I am looking to have a mortgage or credit rating. And finally, repaying is based on your salary and not the amount borrowed. So again, you only start repaying it from your loan when you start earning a specific amount. So currently, for example, if you're earning that very minimum 25,000 or whatever it might be when you start, basically putting it into perspective is when I started repaying my loan, I was paying more going to Starbucks every day and buying a cup of coffee at Starbucks than I was paying back my loan. And obviously this will be dependent on how much you earn on your salary, but don't worry, you're not going to have a fixed rate. So if you're earning a little bit less than someone, you won't be paying back the same amount as them. So that's a really quick round robin about all the kind of different creative industries. Few top tips when you are looking into going into a university and kind of what the things are looking out for. It's really useful to look out for things such as statistics that the university have, so where they fit on the league tables. There's Good University Guide, Times University Good University Guide. Sorry, it's really hot in here. Very hot today. There are a few different league tables that you can look at, and it's really good to make sure that you take a look at these league tables. There's also a little label that universities have called Teaching Excellence Framework. It's called a little TEF. There's gold, silver and bronze, so it's really good to take a look at where they stand on that. And also it's really important when you are looking at the university you're going to be studying at, where they're based. So there are some universities that have multiple campuses spread across either the southeast or in London or within a city, depending on where you're looking at. And it's really important to make sure that you do that research into where the course that you're interested in will be based at, on what campus, as not some universities don't offer the same course at every single campus. So definitely do your research. And I know obviously my biggest advice I ever give to students is, obviously it's a little bit different at the moment. We can only do virtual open days with most students at the moment, unfortunately, but please definitely, when possible, and if possible and it's safe to do so, definitely go to an open day. It's one thing going and hearing all of us talk about our amazing campuses, if you join one of our sessions or any of our sessions, and talking about how great it is, because everyone is very passionate about it, but it's up to you as to where you go, and it's where you feel like you can spend the next 3 to 5 years of your life. So definitely go to an open day, see what it's like. If obviously right now we're doing virtual open day, so please do get in touch with anyone from any institution you're looking at, and get in touch about any questions you have. You can obviously get in touch via different emails and websites, and there's a lot of live chats. So just give people a shout if you have any questions. But that's everything from me. Thank you very much, Jon, for having me. And I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you very much, Savannah. A really, really good overview of the creative industries and struggling. Some of those figures are on there. Also, thank you for mentioning student finance. It's whatever research you look at, the biggest barrier to students in terms of university is related to finance. So the more people that talk about finance messages, the better. And if you do want the full overview as far as student finance goes, last week, actually, we were joined by the Student Loans Company for our Uni Taster Tuesday. And the recording of that event is available at UniTasterDays.com/Tuesdays, which will be really useful for you as well. But really appreciate that, Savannah. Really, really great session. Thank you. Our next speaker today is Rob Burton. Rob is joining us from Teesside University, and Rob is an associate dean, and he's going to provide more of probably an academic angle to the session and what to expect on an art and design course. So with that, Rob, conscious of time as well, I'll get straight over to you, please.
Welcome to the north of England. So MIMA School of Art and Design is Teesside University, which is based in Middlesbrough, and I will be talking to you today about what to expect on an art and design course. Now, as artists, as designers, we are creatives. We make things, so you'll be exposed to lots of skills. When you first come on a course, it will be the how to make garments. So we have here some images of garment construction, the sewing studios, the workshops, making as part of design, and learning those skills of making, which are important as designers and as creatives, and being part of a design studio that's full of creatives that make, that produce. I myself, I'm a creative, an artist, a designer, and somebody once said to me, what do you do? And instead of saying I'm a fashion designer or a textile designer, I say I make work. And that's what we do as designers. We make work, we solve problems. We use the tools of the workshop to solve the problems. Printmaking workshops. Here we've got a student doing some screen printing. Dedicated spaces which all art and design schools, universities will have. From printmaking, here's some of the printmaking work, litho, screen printing, etching, to darkrooms and photography, and 3D workshops. We're building, we're crafting. The idea of craft of making, which is still very prevalent within art and design. The idea of craft, of something that's beautifully made, whether it's typography, whether it's a garment and the way it's put together, and how we conceive and design and think out those things through the processes we use. So 3D, you'd expect to see workshops, woodwork, metalwork, 3D printers and scanners. So we're getting much more technical and high-tech in terms of our future thinking. We have various digital print technologies, as well as 3D printing technologies, as well as 3D scanning technologies, as well as working with the science and the technology areas, becoming more interdisciplinary in our making and the work that we do. You'd expect to have studio spaces, and here are some of our product design spaces with drawing boards, and it's that culture of having a space, having a studio, learning what it's like to be in a professional studio environment. One of the great things we think is being in a studio, sharing ideas. So you can see here the work in front of the students, the spaces where people are next to each other, where they can share ideas, where they can talk about what they're doing, and part of that crit, where people present work or they have that discourse and discussion within the studio, which is very important in terms of art and design. Some of the students here making objects, learning the skills, but also with the computers, the technology. So you will learn new softwares within the 3D area, SolidWorks, 3D Studio, Revit in terms of the architecture, and interior programs, but then the Adobe Creative Suite, but exposing yourself to new ideas, new skills. So a student learning experience is project-based. You'll be given a project, and through those projects, you will be exposed to new skills. With supportive tuition, a lot of our students get one-to-one mentoring with portfolio review, so you're constantly building up your portfolio. We have specialist expertise of tutors. As I say, I'm a designer myself. Visiting professionals who come in from industry, but also live projects. And those live projects could also be competitions and visits, which we'll show you. I'll show you some of the images from the visits of our students. So gaining experience of exhibiting work, having a studio culture, sharing work, self-directed study where you can use the spaces to generate your own ideas, to share ideas, book spaces where you can build larger pieces of work in the sculpture studios. The crit, the discussion in the studio, sharing ideas. You can see some of the work there, talking about that process and also questioning that process. Being an artist is an iterative process. We build things, we look at them, we criticize them, we make them better. And it's about that critical thinking that's important as you go into the world of design. And this is if you go into branding, advertising, it'll be working as groups of teams, solving problems, which is what we do in the studio from day one. Our exchange with our international partners is important in gaining that global perspective. So you'll not only mix with international students who are studying in the UK, but also doing projects with international partners. Many universities like ourselves have international colleges that run their courses, but also, have relationships where they do projects internationally. So our students visit internationally as well. And that internationalization of the curriculum of art and design is important because you will get jobs globally. Students test methods, they try things out, you experiment. And I think that's the greatest thing about being a student, because you have that time to experiment and explore ideas. And you're thinking about the new, you're testing things, trial and error. Some things don't work. You then talk to the staff, you talk to the students, you change and you remake. Creating things in new media as well, sound booths, green screen, exploring technologies, trying out ideas in different formats. All of our students and students throughout art and design will support their studies with knowledge of the industry, of the history, of the context, of the philosophy of their work. What grounds their work? What ideas is it based in? How is it justified? And again, all art and design programs invite visitors. It's that exchange, it's that connection with the outside world. From here, a Turner Prize winner, to the local artists down the road. What are they doing? How are they earning their money? How are they building a business? How are they working regionally, globally? Artists showing their work, doing workshops, which is what you expect. And some of our fine artists' work, just to show you. Internships, work experience. Ask the college, the university, do you do work experience? Where have students been? What kind of projects have you been doing? And that might be, many courses have an internship year. Others have projects within the courses that are internships. Some of the live projects within the course might be a company coming in, setting a brief. Sometimes these are about competitions where a company might come in and set a brief and then choose the best. Sometimes some of these briefs might include an internship. The best students gets the internship. There are also national competitions. Our students compete in the Creative Consciousness Awards, as well as the New Blood Yellow Pencil Awards, as well as the Penguin competition, many others. Many universities go on visits, both overseas and national. For our students, and for many students, these might be funded by the student, but supplemented by the university. And these are students in Amsterdam, local, national visits, and exchange visits. Here are a few that our students have been on to different places around the world. But in art and design, you will get similar experiences. You must engage with creativity, which is international, both international artists and going out and finding it. I think the great thing about being an artist or designer is that thirst for knowledge, that creativity, that finding out. Getting out into the landscape, exploring materials. For me, the important thing is not just being in the college and the university, but connecting with the world outside, whether it's professional design, industry, or just looking at new materials and experiencing the world outside. So one thing, and ask when you're looking at universities, what do the lecturers do? The staff, all my staff are professional designers and artists. They work at the same time, they produce work. I myself have some work in exhibition in Ukraine at the moment, an international exhibition, and I exhibit all over the world. But also they might write papers as long as they are at the forefront of their fields, contemporary, and they're talking to you about the forefront of art design education and practice. So we, as designers, from that experience, you go on, you will become part of the world of design. Some of our graduates have worked in design throughout the world. So we have Marek Reitman, who works for Aston Martin. You've got Dan Walker, who's a concept artist, and many others in the world of design. Some of the designs you'll see might be in the world around you on TV, The Chair by David Fox, and also the interiors of planes, automobiles, cars. So real world design is about the experience of making, of the skills, of being creative, of having those experiences whilst you're in university, of connecting with the outside world through life projects, competitions, and learning design thinking and exploring real world solutions to design problems and changing the world. That's what design does. That's what art does. It has an impact on the world around us. So through problem solving, we're changing the world through creative ideas.